Every person has to be an engineer in some form or fashion. I don't care what you actually do. If you don't have an engineering mindset, a lot of your day-to-day tasks will be a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And even if you feel like you don't have the brain power to be an engineer, trust me, by the end of this, you will be thinking like an engineer. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Before anything, my name is Jada Solves. I make engineering/STEM videos. It's been a while. I had a bit of a break, but I'm back and I'd like to continue. I hope you enjoyed the video. The engineering mindset. So every single engineer will have the engineering mindset. It is just a series of steps we do every single time we have a problem and what we can do to solve it. Now, the ins and outs of it can be a bit difficult, but as long as you have these steps, you can solve every single problem with ease. Step one is to identify the real problem. Now, this can be done with 5 whys, which I will explain later, but at least look at the problem you have and just name it plainly. But if there's water on your floor, you just got to figure out what's causing the water. There's a leak in my pipes. There is your problem. Step 2, what exists already? Now, you have to research what you can do to fix it. Now, this will be easy with ChatGPT or YouTube, but simply write, what can I do to fix a leak in pipe? And the options will be easily accessible. Step 3, brainstorm the options. Now, you might have 2 different options. The first option might be to buy a completely different sink. And then the second option would be maybe to replace the section of pipe that's leaking. By brainstorming, you can figure out the pros and the cons of each option and determine what you actually like the most. In this case, I'm a cheapskate, so I would just replace the pipe. Step 4, test small. Now, in terms of testing for this example, I am not a plumber, but I can try my best. I'll buy what I need to replace the pipe and test where I can in terms of fitting the pipe correctly. If that means practicing a couple of offcuts to make sure that I'm doing the fitting and the gluing and whatever that needs to be done to replace the pipe works, then I will do that. As long as I'm not risking destroying the actual thing I need to replace, that's where testing helps. And then number 5, see if it works. I've done a quick test to figure out how I want to do it, and now I'm replacing my pipe with ease and without any mistakes, or maybe a few mistakes because I'm not a professional. By following these 5 steps, you could easily solve a problem that you think you could never solve to begin with, or before you'd have to call in professional help, but it saves you a lot of time and money just by doing these 5 steps. Tip number 2, system thinking and trade-offs. Every single engineer will think of these 4 things: money, time, quality, and sustainability. These 4 characteristics are very important in what we want to do project-wise, but we can't have them all. We can't have quality or sustainability if the product was made in 2 seconds flat, because there's no way it's going to last. Or we can't use high quality materials and expect the end product to be extra cheap, because that's just not how it works. By thinking about what we prioritize out of these 4 characteristics will help you with decision making. My example would be deciding between cheap running shoes that might cost £5 or really expensive running shoes that will cost £100. Cheap shoes are probably going to be obviously cheap, and these will probably mass produce, so the time to get them would be really quick. But then we're losing quality and sustainability because these things won't last forever. I'd imagine it'll only take me about 2 months before they completely break down, and then I'll have to buy another cheap pair. Meanwhile, the £100 running shoes obviously will be higher in quality and sustainability. The cost will break bank a bit, and you might get them custom made though, so maybe time might take a hit as well. But these shoes will guarantee you at least 3 years. Now, when you come back to how long the sustainability of each shoes is, buying a shoe every 2 months first and keeping one pair of shoes for 2-3 years, then you can decide whether you want to go for one or the other. It's completely up to you. By evaluating your choices in this way will make the answers so much clearer. Tip number 3, thinking about safety margins and failures. You wouldn't stand on a ladder made out of twigs. That's just simply not going to support your weight and is dangerous. Likewise, you can look at a ladder and believe that it will keep your weight. We already have this inbuilt safety margins and failure modes in everyday living, but now that I'm telling you, think about all the safety margins and the failure modes that you've implemented in your life. For example, you wouldn't fill up your bookshelf with mortar bricks. Likewise, you wouldn't put multiple plugs and plug extensions in one plug outlet because you probably feel that it might explode at some point. Essentially, your common sense rewired in an engineering mindset is exactly what engineers do. It's as easy as that, and you're already thinking like an engineer if you just think about what might break and what can last. Tip number 4, the 5 whys. Now, this is a specific technique engineers use to find the absolute root of a problem. By asking yourself why 5 times, you can find yourself diving deeper into an issue that you completely missed out the first time round. So let's, for example, say that the tap is dripping. Now, why is the tap dripping? That's because the washer within the tap is worn. Why is the washer worn? Well, the water is hard. We've got hard water here. Why is the water hard in this area or in my tap? I don't have a filter to soften the water. Why don't I have a filter to soften the water? I haven't put down the infrastructure for a water filter. My real problem is a lack back of a water filter to soften my water. And then eventually, once I go back to replacing the washers of my tap so that it doesn't drip anymore, I won't have the issue again because I've softened the water and my components won't degrade. By asking 5 whys, you'll find a deeper issue in your front-facing issue, and you can solve practically everything with this tip. And tip number 5, just having some practical engineering habits to have. Get a toolbox. Even software engineers will probably have tiny little screws to open up their laptops just to blow the dust away from their fans. Having a toolbox just so you can at least solve instant house or project problems is a game changer. I would suggest at least having a hammer, an adjustable, multiple socket and screwdriver sets, and wire cutters / pliers. Those are like my top tools for starting your own toolbox. And then of course you can add on when you get better and you want more stuff. If you're going to buy something new, read the manual so you can fix it properly. And then when you're ready to throw it away, think about how its life cycle is and dispose of it properly. These little physical tips will give you an engineering mindset, and you'll find yourself solving and reacting to problems a lot quicker than those who don't have that mindset. And then you're just going to be such a boss that everyone's going to ask you for help. And sorry, you're just going to be so cool that people are going to keep wanting you to help, and I can't help it. These tips are just really good. So in a world built by engineers, it only makes sense to think like an engineer to maneuver it. And you don't need a hard hat to do this. A bit of critical thinking, maybe a screwdriver, and all the tips I've mentioned here. But do you have any other tips that will help you think like an engineer? Comment down below. I'd love to read them and maybe include them in one of my videos. Until then, I shall see you later. Bye bye.